You know the car market is broken when some guy is paying 48 grand for a used truck with more computers than the Pentagon, while the truck parked all the way in the back of the lot for 6,000 bucks is basically too angry to die. Seriously. Right now, there are old pickups sitting on dealer lots collecting dust because people are too busy fighting over overpriced trucks with giant touchscreens, turbo engines, and transmissions that shift harder than your uncle after 3 beers at Thanksgiving dinner. And the crazy part? Some of these forgotten trucks will still be running long after those shiny new trucks are sitting behind a repair shop, waiting for a $12,000 engine replacement. Today on the Car Geek, we are counting down 5 dirt-cheap trucks nobody wants right now that are secretly built like absolute tanks. And trust me, the truck at number 1 is so ridiculously underrated that mechanics quietly buy them for themselves and never tell anybody. If you know, you know. Let's get into it. Starting off at number 5 is a truck people constantly overlook because it does not have Toyota resale value. Ford fanboys defending it like it is a family member, or Dodge guys revving at stoplights for absolutely no reason. The Chevrolet S10 from 1994 to 2004, especially with the legendary 4.3-liter Vortec V6, is one of the best cheap trucks in America if you actually care about reliability more than impressing strangers at Home Depot. And let me explain something about the 4.3 Vortec. This engine is basically a small block Chevy V8 that skipped leg day. That is literally the best way to describe it. GM basically took the durability of the famous small block platform and chopped off 2 cylinders like they were trying to save money at Golden Corral. And somehow it worked beautifully. A guy came into my shop last summer with a 1998 S10 extended cab, 2-wheel drive, automatic, with 211,000 miles on it. Paint was faded so badly, the truck looked like it had survived a nuclear blast in Arizona. Driver's seat looked like a raccoon had been living in it for 6 months. But that truck started instantly every single time. The owner told me he bought it for $3,000 cash after his newer Ram Eco Diesel turned into a financial hostage situation. His exact words were, "I got tired of making truck payments and repair payments at the same time." Honestly, fair. Now here is what makes these trucks so good. The 4.3-liter Vortec makes around 190 horsepower depending on year. And no, that is not going to win a drag race against some teenager in a tuned EcoBoost running 93 octane and bad financial decisions. But the truck only weighs around 3,400 pounds. It moves surprisingly well. It tows around 5,500 pounds. And it gets about 18 to 21 miles per gallon on the highway if you are not driving like you just stole catalytic converters behind a Walmart. The transmissions are simple too. The 5-speed manual is tough as nails, and even the famous 4L60E automatic, despite everybody online acting like it explodes if you sneeze near it, is honestly fine when maintained properly. And here is the beautiful part. If it does fail, every transmission shop in America can rebuild one in their sleep. You are not dealing with some 10-speed spaceship transmission designed by engineers who apparently hate mechanics. Current prices on these trucks are hilarious, considering how useful they still are. A decent 2-wheel drive S10 with the 4.3 usually runs between $3,500 and $7,000, depending on mileage and rust. Meanwhile, people are paying Tacoma money for trucks with frame recalls and enough rust underneath to qualify as modern art. And speaking of rust, that is the #1 thing you need to check on these trucks. Look at the cab corners, rocker panels, brake lines, and frame rails behind the cab. If you live in the Rust Belt, some of these trucks have frames crunchier than gas station fried chicken. Also check the intake manifold gasket, because GM used plastic gaskets back then for reasons nobody understands. Around 150,000 miles, they can leak coolant. It is not the end of the world. About a $400 repair at most shops. Ignore it too long, though, and suddenly your coolant disappears faster than your paycheck after ordering car parts online at 2 in the morning. But if you find a clean one, oh, buddy. You are basically getting a blue-collar zombie apocalypse truck for the price of a used iPhone and a trip to Costco. And the next truck on this list? Let's just say it was so ignored by the market that people still do not realize they are basically buying the exact same truck for thousands less. Seriously, this next one is one of the biggest hidden cheat codes in the entire used truck market. Is the truck that accidentally became one of the greatest budget deals in America simply because people forgot it existed. The Mazda B Series from 1994 to 2009. And before somebody in the comments says, "Bro, nobody wants a Mazda truck," congratulations, you just proved exactly why these things are so cheap. Because here is the joke. The Mazda B Series is basically a Ford Ranger wearing fake glasses and pretending to be somebody else. Same frame, same engines, same transmissions, same assembly line, same parts sitting at AutoZone right now next to air fresheners that smell like regret and Monster energy drinks. I swear, Ford and Mazda back then were like two roommates sharing everything except the name on the mailbox. A younger guy came by the shop earlier this year looking for a truck for his pressure washing business. Budget was $5,000. He originally wanted a Tacoma because apparently every human on Earth thinks they are made out of Captain America's shield. Then he saw the prices and almost had a stroke right there in the parking lot. $12,000 for a Tacoma with 200,000 miles and enough rust underneath to summon the Titanic. So I told him to go look at a 2007 Mazda B2300 sitting behind a dealership nearby. 146,000 miles, 4-cylinder, 5-speed manual. Price? $4,300. The dealer literally could not get rid of it because people kept walking past it to look at overpriced Rangers parked 10 feet away. And that is the funniest part. A comparable Ranger was sitting on the same lot for almost $7,000. Same truck, same engine, same transmission, same problems, same reliability. The only difference was the badge on the front grille. That is it. Americans will literally pay $2,000 more for a blue oval sticker. Car branding is basically adult Pokemon cards at this point. Now let's talk about why these trucks survive forever. The 2.3-liter Duratec 4-cylinder from the later years is one of the most boring engines Ford ever built, and that is a compliment. You want boring in a work truck. Nobody wants an exciting engine when they are late for work, and the check engine light starts blinking like a Christmas tree sponsored by anxiety. The Duratec has a timing chain instead of a timing belt, port fuel injection instead of direct injection carbon buildup nonsense, and no turbochargers trying to cook themselves to death after 80,000 miles. It makes around 143 horsepower, which sounds weak until you realize this truck weighs less than modern full-size truck doors. And the fuel economy, around 24 to 27 miles per gallon on the highway if you drive normally, which means this thing somehow gets better gas mileage than some modern crossovers the size of studio apartments. The 5-speed manual transmission is fantastic too. Honestly, these little trucks with manuals feel like cockroaches. You could probably abandon one behind a Lowe's for 6 years, throw a battery in it, and it would still fire right up asking for another oil change and absolutely nothing else. Current market prices are still weirdly low. Clean Mazda B Series trucks usually sit between $4,000 and $7,500 depending on year and condition. Equivalent Rangers? Easily $2 or $3 grand more just because people recognize the name. It is one of the dumbest price gaps in the truck market. Now, these are not perfect. Let's not act like they are magical, indestructible unicorns built by Viking blacksmiths. You absolutely need to inspect the rear frame sections around the leaf spring mounts, because rust loves attacking these trucks harder than Mustang owners attack crowds leaving cars and coffee events. Also check front suspension bushings, ball joints, and radiator supports, because age catches up with everything eventually. But mechanically? These things are ridiculously solid. Oil changes every 5,000 miles, basic maintenance, do not drive it like you are qualifying for NASCAR, and the truck will probably outlive several modern turbocharged half-ton pickups currently waiting for warranty approval. And if you think this truck was underrated, the next one on this list is somehow even more ignored. Which is crazy because it came from a company that used to build trucks so durable people treated them like farm equipment and family heirlooms at the same time. Seriously, the next one might be the biggest "where has this thing been all my life" truck on the entire list. Also real quick, if this video is helping you avoid buying some overpriced rolling iPad with monthly payments the size of rent, do me a favor and hit that like button and send this video to that one friend who keeps saying, "Bro, I'm thinking about financing a $70,000 truck." Save him before it is too late. Coming in at number 3 is the truck that quietly carried America's electricians, plumbers, contractors, landscapers, and probably half the dudes hauling couches for their cousins during the early 2000s. The Ford Ranger from 1998 to 2011, especially with the 2.3-liter Duratec 4-cylinder and the 5-speed manual transmission. And yes, before the internet mechanics jump into the comments foaming at the mouth, I know the Ranger and the Mazda B Series are basically twins. But the Ranger earns its own spot because these things are absolutely everywhere, parts are dirt cheap, and somehow people still underestimate them. Which honestly makes no sense because these little trucks refuse to die harder than old Nokia phones. A nursing student came into a buddy's shop last winter needing something reliable for clinical rotations. She had about $5,000 total. Everybody around her kept saying the same thing people always say: buy a Honda Civic. Because apparently Americans think the Honda Civic is the answer to every transportation problem short of crossing the Atlantic Ocean. But here was the issue. Clean Civics in her area were priced like they contained hidden gold bars. So instead, she found a 2009 Ford Ranger XL regular cab with the 2.3-liter engine, manual transmission, and around 120,000 miles for $4,600. And listen carefully, because this is the part dealerships hate. In one full year of driving nearly 30,000 miles, that truck needed exactly one thing besides gas: an oil change. That is it. No touchscreen failure, no turbo replacement. No service transmission immediately message popping up like a horror movie jump scare. The truck just existed peacefully, like a refrigerator from 1992. That is what made these Rangers so good. Simplicity. The 2.3 Duratec makes around 143 horsepower, which means no, you are not racing Hellcats at stoplights. But the truck gets around 26 to 28 highway miles per gallon, depending on gearing and driving habits, which honestly is hilarious for an old pickup truck shaped like a refrigerator box. And unlike modern engines that require 17 sensors, 3 software updates, and a blood sacrifice to run correctly, this thing uses old-school port fuel injection and a timing chain setup that lasts forever if you change the oil consistently. No turbochargers, no cylinder deactivation, no direct injection carbon buildup, no 10-speed transmission trying to solve algebra every time it shifts into third gear. You know what these trucks remind me of? Those old dads who wear white New Balance shoes and somehow fix literally everything with duct tape and one rusty screwdriver. They are not flashy, they are not exciting, but somehow they always get the job done while everybody else is standing around confused. Now, if you can find the manual transmission version, buy it. Seriously. Nobody wants manuals anymore because Americans treat shifting gears like it is advanced calculus. Meanwhile, the 5-speed in these trucks is basically immortal. Clutches routinely last close to 200,000 miles if the previous owner did not drive it like they were auditioning for Fast and Furious, Farm Equipment Edition. And here is where things get even funnier. A clean Ranger from around 2009 to 2011 with decent mileage usually costs somewhere between $5,000 and $9,000 depending on region. Meanwhile, people are financing newer trucks for $800 a month just to drive to Target and haul absolutely nothing except emotional support, Stanley Cups. Now, there are a few things to inspect before buying one. Check the frame carefully around the rear leaf spring hangers and spare tire mount, because rust can absolutely destroy these trucks in snowy states. Also listen for timing chain tensioner noise during cold starts. Some earlier Duratec engines had tensioner issues, though many were repaired under recall years ago. If it rattles loudly at startup like somebody shaking a toolbox under the hood, walk away. Beyond that, these trucks are tanks. Cheap insurance, cheap maintenance, cheap parts, easy repairs. Every mechanic in America knows how to work on them. You could probably repair half the truck with tools borrowed from your uncle's garage and a 6-pack of beer. But now we are getting into the serious heavy hitters on this list. Because the next truck? Oh man. This one has been ignored so badly by the market that people still do not realize they are buying one of the toughest mid-sized trucks ever built for the price of a modern crossover with fake exhaust tips and an identity crisis. Is the truck that somehow spent years getting bullied by Toyota fanboys while quietly becoming one of the toughest mid-size pickups ever built. The second-generation Nissan Frontier from 2005 to 2019, especially with the legendary 4.0-liter VQ40 V6. And let me tell you right now, this truck is the mechanical equivalent of a guy who works construction all week, grills every weekend, and somehow still has the same flip phone from 2006. These things just do not quit. The funniest part is most people barely even remember Nissan made trucks this good because Nissan's advertising department apparently went on vacation for 14 straight years. Meanwhile, Toyota was out there convincing the entire planet that Tacomas were forged by ancient samurai using magic steel and pure patriotism. And look, Tacomas are good trucks. Nobody is denying that. But some Tacoma owners act like their truck can survive nuclear war, shark attacks, and the collapse of Western civilization just because it says Toyota on the tailgate. Meanwhile, the Frontier is sitting quietly in the corner like, hey man, I literally do the same thing for 10 grand less. A retired guy who comes into the shop all the time bought a 2014 Frontier SV crew cab about 4 years ago. 4-wheel drive, 4.0 V6, around 80,000 miles. Paid just under 15 grand for it. Today, the truck has over 160,000 miles on it, and the repair history is almost insulting. Brakes, battery, oil changes, that is basically it. And this man uses the truck. He tows a camper from Florida to Maine every summer like some retired American road trip warrior, sponsored by gas station coffee and beef jerky. The truck just keeps going. Now let's talk about the VQ40 engine, because this thing deserves respect. Nissan used versions of this engine family in the 350Z, Pathfinder, Xterra, and Infiniti FX models. This is not some tiny, stressed-out turbo 4-cylinder trying to make V8 power while sweating coolant through every gasket. This is an old-school, naturally aspirated 4-liter V6, making around 261 horsepower and 281 pound-feet of torque. Timing chain driven, port fuel injection, no turbochargers, no cylinder deactivation, no direct injection carbon buildup turning the intake valves into barbecue briquettes. And honestly, these engines sound fantastic too. Not fake speaker noise pumped through the stereo like modern trucks trying to cosplay masculinity. Real engine noise. The kind that makes you instinctively nod your head a little pulling onto the highway, even though you are literally just going to Costco. Fuel economy is not amazing, obviously. Expect around 15 to 20 highway miles per gallon depending on gearing and whether your right foot behaves like a responsible adult. But honestly, most Frontier owners do not care because the truck spends less time in repair shops than modern luxury SUVs with 70 different driving modes nobody uses. Now here is where things get hilarious. A clean 2014 to 2016 Frontier with the V6 and reasonable mileage usually costs somewhere between $14,000 and $19,000. A Tacoma from the same years with similar miles, 25 to 30 grand all day long, sometimes more. For what? So strangers at gas stations can say, "Nice Tacoma, bro," before climbing into a crossover with a CVT transmission screaming for mercy? Mechanically, these trucks are incredibly close in durability. The Frontier just never got the social media worship treatment, which honestly works in your favor if you are smart. Now, there is one major thing you absolutely need to know before buying an older Frontier: the infamous radiator problem on early models, specifically around 2005 through 2010. The internal radiator cooler could crack and mix coolant with transmission fluid. Frontier owners nicknamed it the strawberry milkshake of death, which honestly sounds like a discontinued Dairy Queen item. And trust me, if you ever see pink foamy transmission fluid, run. Do not negotiate. Do not say, "Maybe it's fine." It is not fine. That transmission is already planning its funeral. Thankfully, most trucks affected by that issue have either been repaired years ago or already died dramatically in somebody's driveway. By 2011, Nissan had largely fixed the problem with updated radiators. Also, inspect the rear leaf springs, because hard towing can wear them out over time. Replacement is not terrible, though, usually around $600 to $800 depending on parts and labor. But overall, this truck is an absolute monster. Reliable drivetrain, strong towing capability around 6,000 pounds depending on configuration, comfortable enough for daily driving, cheap compared to Tacoma prices, and simple enough that mechanics do not immediately sigh when one pulls into the shop. And finally, number 1. The truck that mechanics buy quietly for themselves, while everybody else is busy signing 72-month loans for trucks with massage seats and enough electronics to launch a SpaceX rocket. The Dodge Dakota from 2008 to 2011, especially with the 4.7-liter PowerTech V8, is one of the most criminally underrated pickups in the entire American used market. And before somebody immediately types, "Bro, it's a Dodge," relax. Breathe into a paper bag if you need to. Because yes, Chrysler built some absolute disasters over the years. Nobody is arguing that. But every once in a while, they accidentally created something genuinely solid, like a drunk guy at a barbecue somehow grilling the perfect steak with a cigarette hanging out of his mouth. That late model Dakota with the updated 4.7 V8, that was one of those rare moments. See, the Dakota always lived in this weird middle ground. Too big to compete with compact trucks, too small to compete with full-size trucks. It was basically the middle child of the pickup world. Nobody paid attention to it, even though it quietly did everything well. A contractor I know bought a 2009 Dakota Crew Cab 4-wheel drive about 3 years ago with around 115,000 miles for just under $7,500. At the time, he originally wanted an F-150 because apparently every American male over 30 is legally required to consider buying one at least once a year. Then he saw the prices. Used F-150s with over 100,000 miles were still selling for enough money to require a mild panic attack and a cosigner. So instead, he bought the Dakota almost reluctantly. Fast forward to today, the truck is approaching 200,000 miles, and the thing still pulls trailers, carries tools, and starts every morning without drama. Meanwhile, one of his co-workers bought a newer turbocharged half-ton truck that has already visited the dealership more times than some people visit their grandparents. That is the beauty of these Dakotas. They came from an era right before trucks turned into rolling luxury apartments with reliability issues hiding behind giant touchscreens. Now let's talk about the 4.7-liter PowerTech V8, because this engine gets unfairly trashed online by people who only remember the early versions. Yes, the older late 1990s and early 2000s 4.7s had cooling system neglect issues and valve seat problems if owners treated maintenance schedules like optional homework assignments. But the later versions from around 2008 onward were improved significantly. Revised heads, better cooling, variable valve timing, around 300 horsepower and surprisingly decent towing capability, around 7,000 pounds depending on configuration. And unlike modern turbo engines trying to squeeze 600 horsepower out of something the size of a kitchen blender, this V8 is unstressed, naturally aspirated. Old school. The kind of engine that feels happiest hauling lumber while country music plays through blown speakers. Fuel economy is about what you would expect. Around 14 to 19 miles per gallon, depending on driving habits and whether you treat every green light like the Daytona 500. But honestly, nobody buying an old V8 Dakota is worried about hypermiling. If you wanted fuel economy, you would not be shopping for a V8 pickup built during the MySpace era. Now here is where the Dakota becomes one of the best values on the market. Clean 2008 to 2011 models with decent mileage still sit around $6,000 to $10,000. Meanwhile, people are paying absurd money for newer trucks with turbocharged engines, gigantic monthly payments, and automatic stop-start systems that make every red light feel like the truck just gave up on life. And the repair costs? Beautifully normal. Upper ball joints eventually wear out around 120,000 miles, about $400 installed. Differential fluid should be checked because most owners ignored it harder than terms and conditions agreements. And listen carefully for loud valve train ticking, because excessive ticking usually means somebody treated oil changes like government conspiracy theories. But overall, these trucks are shockingly durable when maintained properly. Strong frames, comfortable interiors for the era, real towing ability, simple drivetrains, affordable parts, and unlike some newer trucks, you do not need a software engineer and a priest standing nearby every time the check engine light comes on. And that right there is the problem with the modern truck market. Everybody got distracted by giant screens, luxury interiors, turbochargers, 12-speed transmissions, and marketing commercials showing trucks climbing mountains while dramatic country music plays in the background. Meanwhile, these older trucks just kept doing actual truck stuff for decades. The Chevy S10, the Mazda B Series, the Ford Ranger, the Nissan Frontier, the Dodge Dakota. None of these trucks are glamorous. Nobody is going to sprint across a parking lot asking for selfies with your 2009 Ranger. Your neighbors are not going to gather around your Frontier like it is a Ferrari unveiling. But you know what these trucks will do? Start every morning, haul your stuff, survive abuse, and keep money in your bank account instead of handing it directly to dealership service departments wearing polo shirts and bad attitudes. That is why mechanics love these trucks. Simplicity, durability, cheap repairs, real engineering, before manufacturers started building trucks like oversized smartphones with leather seats. So next time you are walking through a used car lot and everybody is crowding around some overpriced shiny truck with 30 cameras and a payment bigger than rent, do yourself a favor, walk all the way to the back row. Because that dusty old truck everybody ignored might secretly be the smartest vehicle on the entire lot. If you enjoyed this video, hit that subscribe button here on the Car Geek, because we drop new videos every week exposing the cars, trucks, and SUVs dealerships hope you never learn the truth about. And trust me, the next video is going to make a lot of modern truck owners very uncomfortable. Drive safe, change your oil on time, and remember, nothing is more expensive than a cheap luxury truck with 80,000 miles and an expired warranty.